Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's lesson, we are going to learn the important grammar points from Minna no Nihongo Lesson 1. If you don't know what Minna no Nihongo is, it is a textbook recommended for people who want to take JLPT test exam. It comes with 2 volumes. Volume 1 is recommended for people who want to take JLPT N5 and Volume 2 for JLPT N4. If you want to learn Japanese along with me, I highly recommend you to go check out the Minna no Nihongo textbooks. You can buy them online or you can just simply download the PDF files. I will put the PDF file link in the description down below for downloading. Before we start this lesson, I highly recommend you to check out the vocabulary list so that you can easily follow along this lesson. But don't worry if you haven't fully memorized all the vocabularies, because you can learn them along with me. So without further ado, let's get started. We will learn the following grammar points, and by the end of this lesson, you will be able to introduce yourself in Japanese. So for the first grammar point, noun 1 wa, noun 2 this. It means noun 1 is noun 2. Here, let's take a look at this wa. Here, if you have already learned hiragana, katakana, then you will ask why ha is pronounced as wa here. Because it is used as a particle. Here, this wa is used as particle. So instead of pronouncing as ha, you have to pronounce it as wa. Noun 1 wa, noun 2 this. Let's take a look at the examples. When you introduce yourself, first you say your name. Here I will say, I am Shin. Watashi wa Shin desu. Watashi here means I. But don't translate directly as what is am, because it's not a direct translation. If you want to say, I am something or this is something, noun 1 wa, noun 2 this. So here, noun 1 is watashi. Noun 1 is watashi. And then we have this basic grammar structure, wa. And then here noun 2 is Shin. Noun 2 here is my name, Shin. And then you add de, this. So noun 1 wa, noun 2 this. Watashi wa Shin desu. Instead of saying your name, you can add other nouns or adjectives. Let's take a look at another example. After saying your name, you can say your nationality. Here, for example, I will say I am American. So noun 1 is I, and noun 2 is American. As I said, watashi, I is watashi. And then we have this grammar structure, wa. Watashi wa, which means I am. And then American, Amerikajin, Amerikajin, which means American. Amerikajin desu. And then you add this. Noun 1 wa, noun 2 this. Here is noun 1 is watashi, and then noun 2 here is Amerikajin. Here in the brackets, I added this kanji, which is the same as jin. I will add kanjis in the brackets in order for you to familiarize with them as soon as possible, because we learn Japanese. First, we learn Japanese in hiragana, katakana, but eventually you will have to learn kanji too, so it's best to familiarize with them as soon as possible. You don't have to know every kanji or memorize all of them, but let's now focus on the grammar points. This grammar is very simple, basic, but also very useful. Let's take a look at another example. Here we will say, Sam is a teacher. Sam is a teacher. Here noun 1 is Sam. Okay? And then noun 2 here's a teacher. You might have already guessed what is noun 1. Sam is an English name. That's why we will use katakana instead of hiragana. Samu, samu. And then we have to add san, samu-san. I will explain this san in the grammar point 6, so don't worry about it right now. Let's just take a look at the sentence. Samu-san wa sensei desu. Samu-san wa sensei desu. Samu-san is, as I said, is Sam. And then sensei means teacher. Sensei means teacher. Sensei desu. Samu-san wa sensei desu. Now one wa now do this. Here in Japanese, you don't have to say a teacher. In English, you say a teacher. Sam is teacher or Sam is a teacher. Naturally, you would say Sam is a teacher. But in Japanese, you do not count. You do not put the counting number in front of the noun in order to say Sam is a teacher. You can just say Sam is teacher. Samu-san wa sensei desu. Let's do some quiz for the grammar points we learned. Now let's introduce yourself and say your name. So in order to say your name, you have to say I am your name. And then this sentence structure, we just learned it right now. Do you still remember it? Now let's take a look at how to say this together with me. As I said, I means watashi, and then wa is the particle, and then you say your name plus what do you add? This. So, for example, if your name is John, watashi wa John desu. After saying your name, you have to say your nationality. So it is the same grammatical structure. So can you try to say this in Japanese? Here, let's take a look and try our best to say it. Like I said, I am means watashi wa. And then you say your nationality. If you don't know how to say your nationality, you can always use dictionary or Google Translate and just type your nationality, and then you can learn these words in the Japanese. While learning a language, it is best to try to search for words that you want to learn by yourself, because that way you can memorize them quicker and obtain this word longer in your memory. And then you can say your occupation. Here, if you don't know how to say your occupation, don't worry. We'll just focus on the grammatical structure right now. As I said, how do you say I am in Japanese? You already know right now, right? That means watashi wa. And then you add your occupation. Right now, let's take a look at grammar number 2. Grammar number 2 is noun 1 wa noun 2 じゃありません。じゃありません。Noun 1 は Noun 2 じゃありません。That means Noun 1 is not Noun 2. We just learned that Noun 1 is Noun 2. Right now, we are going to negate the first grammatical structure. It's going to be Noun 1 is not Noun 2. Let's take a look at the example sentences. Mike is not a student. So here we will say Mike-san. Mike-san means Mike. Mike-san wa student. How do you say student? 学生. 学生. You can see each word will be pronounced as 学生. But in Japanese, if you want to sound natural, you would, shorten this ku and then you say 学生. 学生. 学生じゃありません. 学生じゃありません. Which means Mike is not a student. Mike は学生じゃありません. If we want to say Mike is a student, we have to use the grammar point 1 we just learned, which would be Mike さんは学生です. Instead of じゃありません, you say this. Here you want to negate it, so instead of saying this, you see, you remove this and then add じゃありません。マイクさんは学生じゃありません。Let's take a look at example 2. Mike is not Japanese. We will say マイクさんは Japanese is 日本人じゃありません。マイクさんは日本人じゃありません。Mike is not Japanese. Example 3. I am not Mike. How do you say I am? First, we'll take a look at the first part, saying I am. How do you say I am? I think at this point, you already kind of memorized how to say I am, which is I am means 私は。私は。And then how do you say Mike? マイクさん。私はマイクさん。And then now you are negating the word. So instead of this, you say じゃありません。私はマイクさんじゃありません。私はマイクさんじゃありません。Which means I am not Mike. Let's take a look at grammar point 3. Now we will turn the first sentence into a question. If you want to ask a question in Japanese, it is very simple. You have to add か at the end of the sentence. You just have to add か at the end of this sentence. Here we will say 何碗は何度ですか which means is 何碗何度 Let's take a look at examples. Here we will ask, is Sam a student? We already know how to say Sam is a student. サムさんは学生です。Now we want to turn this into a question. We just simply have to add か at the end of the sentence. サムさんは学生ですか？サムさんは学生ですか？ If you pay attention to the pronunciation, you just have to pronounce the か a little bit higher, on a higher tone. If you want to say, yes, Sam is a student. How do you say yes in Japanese? はい。はい means yes. はい。サムさんは学生です。Yes, Sam is a student. But if you want to say, no, Sam is not a student. いいえ、いいえ、サムさんは学生じゃありません。サムさんは学生じゃありません。Sam is not a student. I hope you understand this explanation. Now let's take a look at another examples. Is Bob an engineer? In order to say engineer, we would say engineer. Engineer. Bob would be ボブさんはエンジニアですか？ボブさんはエンジニアですか？ You just have to add か at the end, right? If Bob is an engineer, we will say yes, Bob is an engineer. はい。ボブさんはエンジニアです。Engineer. This word is written in katakana because it is adopted from the English word engineer. So it is very easy, right? If you want to say engineer in Japanese, you just say engineer. But don't worry, even if your pronunciation has a little bit of accent, learning a language, the most important thing is they understand what you're trying to say and you also understand what they are trying to say. That is the very most basic step of learning a language. Okay? If you want to say no, Bob is not an engineer. How do you say no in Japanese? いいえ、ボブさんはエンジニアじゃありません。Now let's take a look at another example. Now if you want to ask somebody's name, how would you say that? あなたの名前は何ですか? Here because I am teaching basic Japanese, so I am saying あなたの名前. But in real life situations, you do not use あなた because calling someone as あなた is kind of rude. So please don't use this in real life. Eventually, you will learn how to call someone politely Here we will focus on the grammar points and some basic vocabulary first, okay? So in order to say your name, that would be あなたの名前。あなたの名前。あなた means you, and then お名前 means name. Here, 名前 is actually name, but you have to add o in front of 名前 in order for it to sound polite. If you want to say it politely, you say お名前. You can, if you want to say it casually, you can say 名前. Okay? But if you are asking somebody's name, it's best to add o in front of 名前 and ask お名前. So if you want to be more polite, you can just remove あなたの and then just ask お名前は何ですか? お名前は何ですか? Then that is the same, that has the same meaning as あなたのお名前は何ですか? Okay, here if we take a look at it, we will see the grammatical structure is opposite of English. Okay, here is in English you say what is the first word in the sentence structure, but here in Japanese what is in the mid, not at first, because here is after the wa. Nan, nan. Nan means what? お名前 is the first word. So it's the opposite of English grammatical structure. Because you're learning Japanese, you have to think the grammatical structure also in Japanese. So just try to memorize the basic grammatical form that I'm teaching right now, okay? So あなたのお名前は何ですか? Which means what is your name? Here, the same as I said, if you want to say it politely, instead of remove the あなたの and then just say お名前は何ですか? お名前は何ですか? What is your name? And then I would say my name. My name is Shin. And that would be 私の名前はShin です。私の名前 which means my name is Shin です。私の名前はShinです。Or you can say I am Shin, which is basically the same, just a different way of saying, right? Some people say my name is Shin, some people say I am Shin, so it's basically the same, but there are two ways of saying your name, okay? First one would be my name is Shin, which is 私の名前はShinです。Or you can just say 私はShinです。私はShinです。Which means I am Shin, which is basically the same. Now let's take a look at grammar number 4, okay? Noun 1 more, noun 2 this. Noun 1 is also noun 2. If you want to say something is also something, you can just say noun 1 more, noun 2 this. You just have to add more instead of wa. Let's take a look at the examples, okay? So here we will say Dean is an engineer, okay? We already learned this sentence structure, which is noun 1 wa, noun 2 this. Here noun 1 would be Dean-san, and then engineer would be noun 2 would be engineer. So Dean-san wa engineer this. And now we will say Tanaka is also an engineer. Tanaka is also an engineer. Here we have to use more instead of wa, because here is also, right? So let's take a look at how to say this in Japanese. Tanaka-san. Tanaka-san is noun 1, and then is also would be mo. Instead of wa, we will use mo. And then engineer this. Tanaka-san mo engineer this. Tanaka-san is also an engineer. And then you can say if you are an engineer, for example, if you're an engineer, you can also say, oh, me too. Me too. It's very simple, right? Instead of saying, oh, I am also an engineer, in English too, you just casually say, 私も、すいません。You can casually say, me too, right? It's short and effective and simple. And in order to say me too, you can say 私も。私も。You just have to add in front of 私. And then that would be the same as me too. 私も。This sentence can be used in many situations, right? For example, if you go out with a friend and your friend asks you, your friend ordered an orange juice, and then she asks you what you want for a drink, and then you can say, "Ah, watashi mo." That basically means that I will order the same as you. Okay? Or you can say, if you're a doctor, which would be isha. If your friend is a doctor and you are also a doctor, you can just say watashi mo. Okay? Now, quiz time. Let's take a look at what we learned and try to say that in Japanese, okay? 皆さん頑張ってください. So, are you also an engineer? Which means, あなたもエンジニアですか? We already learned this, how to say you, which is あなた. And then, because we are saying also, instead of wa, we will use mo. あなたも. That means you also. Engineer ですか? Here we use ka because this is a question sentence, right? Because this is a question, we have to add ka at the end of the sentence. So it would be あなたもエンジニアですか? Now, if you are an engineer, you can say, yes, I am also an engineer. And how do you say that in Japanese? In order to say yes, you say hi. And then, how do you say I am? Usually, in order to say I am, you would say 私は. But here we are using also. So instead of wa, what will we use? Mo, right? So in order to say that, you will say 私も. Now this is an example I answer for you for the quiz. But try to answer the other quiz by yourself and write them in the comment section down below, okay? Don't worry if you got it wrong. I will reply with the correct answer, and if you have any questions, I will try my best to explain it to you also. So don't be afraid to make mistakes and try your best and answer the questions or the quiz here, okay? So if you're not an engineer, you can say, no, I'm not an engineer. So in order to say no, you say いいえ. Here is the blank, but I will not answer it for you. Try to answer it yourself, okay? 頑張ってください. Now, I will ask you another question. Are you also a teacher? That would be あなたも先生ですか? あなたも先生ですか? If you are a teacher, you can say, yes, I am also a teacher. はい. Hi. And then what would you say? No. If you're not a teacher, you can say いいえ, いいえ. And then what will you say? Write the answers in the comment section down below, okay? I will not answer this for you before you write the answer in the comment section, okay? Now let's move on to grammar number 5. Grammar number 5 would be now one no, now do this. Now one no, now do this. Which is now one, now two of, now one. Now two of, now one. Yeah, if you just take a look at this, you will not understand its meaning. So we will take a look at the examples, okay? Now let's ignore this cross here for now, okay? Castiel is an IBM employee. Castiel is an IBM employee. Which means that IBM employee has the same meaning as an employee of IBM. Alright? So in order to say that in Japanese, we will say カスティアルさん。カスティアルさんは IBM の社員です。社員 means employee. IBM の社員です。Which means employee of IBM. Employee of IBM. Alright? Which has the same meaning as IBM employee. Now, let's take a look at another example in order to fully, visualize and see what it actually means and how it is constructed. So here we will say Lelouch is a student of Ashford Academy. ルルシュさんはアッシュフォードアカデミーの学生です。アッシュフォードアカデミーの学生です。ルルシュさんはアッシュフォードアカデミーの学生です。アッシュフォードアカデミー is Ashford Academy and 学生 is a student, right? But here in English you would say a student of Ashford Academy. But in Japanese, it is opposite, right? It is complete opposite. The grammatical structure is opposite. Ashford Academy comes first. Here, Ashford Academy. And then no. 学生 comes later. Ashford Academy no 学生. I hope this explains how this grammatical structure works. It looks a bit, complicated, and you might feel that it is difficult to understand at first. But the main point here is, no matter how much I try to explain, the main point here is you have to practice a lot of, similar sentences like this. You have to read the sentences. You have to, do the exercises from the textbooks a lot. You will make mistakes, but that's okay. That's how you learn it. So you just have to practice a lot in order to understand, okay? But here, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. A student of Ashford Academy, how do we say that in Japanese? Ashford Academy no 学生. So, Lelouch is a student of Ashford Academy. ルルシュさんは Ashford Academy の学生です。Okay? If you don't know who Lelouch is a character from Code Geass, which is also one of my favorite animes, by the way. If you like to, learn Japanese or just, casually watch some Japanese anime, I highly recommend Code Geass. Now, let's start our quiz time, okay? Now, Lelouch is a student of Ashford Academy. ルルシュさんは Ashford の学生です。I will ask you, are you also a student of Ashford Academy? あなたも Ashford Academy の学生ですか? Of course, you're not a student from Ashford Academy, so you would say, no, I'm not a student of Ashford Academy. How do we say that in Japanese? It is very simple, okay? いいえ, which means no. And then how do we say that? If you can take your time and try to answer it, and if you are having a hard time, if you find it difficult, you can rewatch the lessons that I just taught you, and then try to answer this question, okay? Now, you're not a student of Ashford Academy, but you have already attended at some school, right? So you can say, no, I'm not a student of Ashford Academy. I am a student of, and then you can say your school name. Then how do we say that? 私は. Here I will give you some, vocabularies for you to answer this question. If you're a university student, you can say, in order to say your school, university is 大学. If you're high school, you can say 高校. So in order to say your school name, for example, if you're a student from Tokyo University, Alright? For example, if you are a student from Tokyo University, you say the school name plus university. So, Tokyo Daigaku. Tokyo Daigaku. This is just an example, right? Or you can say your school name, for example, Harvard. For example, if you're a student from Harvard University, you can say Harvard University. Harvard University. If you don't know how to say Harvard in Japanese, you can Google it. You can use Google Translate to get the Japanese vocabulary of Harvard. Okay, so you can Google your school name, translation of your school name in Japanese just by using Google Translate. So school name plus if your school is university, school name plus university. If you attended high school, if you're a high school student, and then you can say your school name plus koko. School name plus koko. Alright? I hope this explains. Now let's move on to another grammar, number 6. Here is nani nani san desu. San means Mr., Mrs., or Miss. Alright? So it is a way of showing respect to other people. If you want to call someone name, or if you're writing an email, a message, if you're just talking to someone and you want to say someone's name, then you have to add san in order to show respect, okay? It is very important that you add san after somebody's name because Japanese people are very, careful about addressing someone. So you do not want to offend someone when you're speaking in Japanese. So let's take a look at the examples, alright? So the first sentence would be, that person is Mr. Bob. Here I added Mr. in order for you to actually see how san works. So that person is anohito. That person, anohito. Anohito wa Bob-san desu. Anohito wa Bob-san desu. This grammar structure is the first grammar structure that we just learned, alright? So by adding san, you're showing respect to the person that you're talking to, okay? You're showing respect to Mr. Bob, okay? So instead of saying Bob desu, if you just say anohito wa Bob desu, that is not polite. That sounds very rude, okay? So add san. So anohito wa Bob-san desu. So here you can say a person's name plus san. That is a way of showing respect. So Tanaka, if a person name is Tanaka, then you add san. That would be Tanaka-san. Tanaka-san. In Japanese, they have their first name and the last name, okay? But usually, people address each other using their last name, okay? They don't usually use first name plus san to address someone. It's only for very close friends or family members. Japanese are very particular about it, so please try to just use the last name and san. Here, just like I made the mistake of saying my own name plus san, don't make that mistake, okay? Because we are not Japanese people, so we just try to memorize how to say these things, alright? So we sometimes tend to make mistakes, and instead of saying, when you're saying your own name, instead of saying, watashi wa shin desu, sometimes we make mistakes and then we would say, watashi wa shin-san desu. That is very weird because you're now showing respect to yourself. Having respect for oneself is a good thing, a very good thing. But in Japanese, it's very weird to put san after your own name. So you cannot say your name plus san. That's not good, okay? Try to remember that and don't make the same mistakes, okay? Now we will take a look at how to say this grammatical structure, which is how old is Sam? So, サムさんは何歳ですか? How to say how old? How old is 何歳ですか? Because we are now asking a question, we will add か at the end. So, サムさんは何歳ですか? Now you see the grammatical structure, alright? Just like with the IBM employee of IBM would be IBM の社員 and then Ashford の学生 just like it is opposite grammatical structure from the English. In this question, in order to ask this kind of question, the grammatical structure is also opposite. So try to remember this structure in Japanese, okay? Instead of in English. So, サムさんは何歳ですか? So, サムさんは27歳です。Sam is 27 years old. So this is if you don't remember the question, how to form a question, how to ask a question, first try to remember just the simple statement, which is noun 1 は now do this. Here noun 1 is サムさん and noun 2 is 27歳 and then it is not a question, so you can just say サムさんは27歳です and then if you want to change it into a question instead of 27 years, which is 27歳 instead of 27歳 you can remove 27歳 and replace it with 何歳 which means how old 何歳 and then just add か何歳ですか サムさんは何歳ですか I hope this helps and then now let's do the quiz, alright? Now I will ask you, who is your teacher? あなたの先生は誰ですか? あなたの先生は誰ですか? 誰 means who. 誰 means who. あなたの先生 your teacher. あなたの先生は誰ですか? Who is your teacher? If you just directly translate it, it would be your teacher who. Your teacher who. But this is we are in English. So in English, the correct sentence would be who is your teacher? Let's say your teacher, my teacher is Shin. 私の先生は and then how would you say that? I'll give you some time to think and try to write the answer in the comment section, okay? Now this is very simple. This is something that I already taught you in the previous, just right now. So what is your name? あなたのお名前は何ですか? あなたのお名前は何ですか? 私の名前は My name is and then write the sentence, okay? Now, we have finished learning all the important grammar points. So, let's try to practice how to introduce ourselves in Japanese, okay? So, self-introduction, which is 自己紹介 自己 means self. 紹介 means introduction. 紹介 introduction. 自己 self. 自己紹介 self-introduction. In Japan, if you start to attend a new school, if you join a school, or if you join a new company, if you start a new job, or if you are going for an interview, usually you will hear this sentence, 自己紹介お願いします。自己紹介お願いします。which means, please introduce yourself. Tell me about yourself. So in order to introduce yourself, it's very important you start with はじめまして, which is roughly translated to nice to meet you. はじめまして. And then you say your name. 私は and then you say your name and then this. 私はシンです. And then you can say your nationality, which is nationality will be your country plus jin. Usually your country plus jin this. For example, if you're American, アメリカ人です. Here you don't have to repeat 私は every single time you try to say it because you already said your name, so the other person knows that you're talking about yourself. So you can just simply say アメリカ人です. For example, アメリカ人です. And then you can say your country name plus から来ました. から means from. 来ました means I came. So I am from your country. For example, I am from America. アメリカから来ました。アメリカから来ました。And then you can say your occupation plus this. For example, 先生です。先生です。日本語先生です。日本語 is Japanese. 先生 teacher. Japanese teacher. I am a Japanese teacher. 日本語先生です。Here, for example, if you're a student, you can just say 学生です。学生です。or 先生です。or if you're a working employee, you can say 社員です。If you want to be more specific, you can say your company or your school or your, the academy that you teach, and then no, and then your occupation plus this. For example, if you're a student at Tokyo University, for example, if you're a student at Tokyo University, you can say 東京大学の学生です。東京大学の学生です。A student of Tokyo University. I am a student of Tokyo University. Or if you're an employee, you can say your company name. For example, that would be Toyota. Just example, right? Toyota 株式会社 Toyota. For example, okay? トヨタ会社の社員です。トヨタ会社の社員です。That means I am an employee of Toyota. And then you can simply say どうぞよろしくお願いします。どうぞよろしくお願いします。This sentence, I do not have there is no direct translation in Japanese, but it can be roughly translated to from now on, please take care of me. But there is another sentence for that. So there is no direct translation, but if you learn Japanese and along the way with me, eventually you will understand what this means. Okay, but it basically means that you are requesting the other person that for whatever that is. For example, if you go to an interview and you say at the end どうぞよろafter the end of your introduction you say どうぞよろしくお願いします. That can basically means from now on we will start the interview, so please take care of me and I would request you to be kind to me, something like that. Okay, there is no direct translation, but this is the pattern that you introduce yourself in Japanese. はじめまして、私はシエンです。アメリカ人です。アメリカから来ました。先生です。For example, 先生です。お、何々会社の社員です。会社の社員です。Instead of 会社, you can say your company name and company の社員です。どうぞよろしくお願いします。And that's how you introduce yourself in Japanese Now I hope that this explains the how to introduce yourself in Japanese in a very, simple and easy way. And you can try to practice using your own name and your country and your occupation and write it in the comment, or you can just practice and say it out loud while you are studying. I hope this helps. I will see you in the next lesson. Good job everyone. お疲れ様でした。If you find this lesson helpful, subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like this video. That means a lot to me.